it's really a great joy to introduce our next speaker, who's a hero of mine, and perhaps the true pioneer in the subject of the application of meditation in schools. It's been 15 years, I think, or longer, since Dr. George Rutherford introduced the Transcendental Meditation Program into a public school in a very, very tough neighborhood, Anacostia in Washington, D.C., a city that's sometimes called the murder capital of the world, and probably the most difficult neighborhood in the city in terms of deeply stress-afflicted students from severe economic, lack of opportunity, and drugs in the environment in the neighborhood. Dr. George Rutherford is probably the most revered educator in Washington and the Baltimore area. He has served for 30 years as the principal of the Fletcher Johnson Educational Center, kindergarten through 8, in Washington, where he introduced the Transcendental Meditation technique to hundreds of students and teachers as part of the school's quiet time. He is currently principal of the Ideal Academy Public Charter School, also kindergarten through 8, in the District of Columbia, where a 2-year grant-supported research study, major study, is now underway on the effects of Transcendental Meditation on student stress, student behavior, and academic performance. Dr. George Rutherford. Very good to see you.
Good afternoon. You know, in life, God would always give you a special friend. And you know, at the Fletcher Johnson Educational Center, back in the early 90s and in the 80s, late 80s, Washington, D.C. was going through, but we were going through hell because of all the killing. The drugs that hit our city really was destroying our schools, our youngsters, and all. We knew at Fletcher Johnson Educational Center that we had to do something. I have seen young people laying on the ground shot up. But this particular morning, I was in my office, and the teacher had some students up in their classroom talking about death and dying, and was not able to bring closure to it. What happened to students end up in my office. And in talking to the young people, they shared with me, one stated their mother was found dead on Washington-Baltimore Parkway. One was telling me about their uncle being found shot. But the one that really, really made us turn around was the little girl who was my best math student at that school, probably one of the best math students I ever had. She said, "Doc," they came into my house, they kicked my door down, went upstairs and shot my uncle, and when my aunt came down the steps, they shot her too. And that aunt was one of my former students. We knew that we had to do something. And as I stated earlier, God give all of us special friends. I met a gentleman in 1992 who became a special friend to Fletcher Johnson Educational Center. That gentleman is sitting there right now, Dr. John Hagelin. I was able to get some training, and I was able to go to Fairfield to see the school in Fairfield with Dr. Dean. And I'm telling you, it changed my life. I knew then I had hope. I knew then that I would be able to do something for my students back in Washington. Because in Fairfield, I saw happy children. You can go into a school and you'll see pre-K through kindergarten, and most time they are happy. But once students get in first grade and on up, the stress that hit them. And it's not like it was in preschool and pre-K. Fletcher Johnson had 1,400 students, a little over 1,400, right, about 1,450. I was able to come back after seeing what I saw, got my training, and the amazing thing, I tell you, God is good. My teacher walked up to me one day and said, "Doc," said, "what are you doing?" Sort of insulted me, what am I doing? What are you talking about? She said, "You're different." I said, "I am." Because, see, I'm a very hyper person. And I told her what I was doing. She said, "We want that too." So again, I go to my special friend. And we were able to train 85% of the staff at the Fletcher Johnson Educational Center. Once we trained the staff, we sat down and made up our schedule for the next year because we wanted our students to benefit. I needed the staff in order to implement the program because it's one of me, but it was a whole lot of staff persons. I had the cafeteria workers, I had the custodians, I had the engineers, I had the teachers, I had the educational aides. So what we did, we looked at our schedule. I had 4 assistant principals. We looked, and the counselor, and we decided to take 5 minutes off each period. Once we took the 5 minutes off, we put 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon, and we call it quiet time. Well, we had a couple of teachers that was concerned about taking class time. But after you look at it, you get 45 minutes to 50 minutes a class period, and I don't think you have a teacher in here can tell you that they use 45 to 50 minutes to teach a class. They don't have that time. They go through all the little bit of paperwork they got to do in the classroom before class starts. We wanted to make sure they got quality time. So with that 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon, see, Fletcher Johnson is located in southeast Washington, D.C. We're sitting on a hill looking down at Benning Road. Every day, believe me, every day I was outside stopping fights. But believe me, when we put quiet time in, I didn't have to go outside anymore. We trained our 5th graders, we trained our 6th graders, we had some 7th graders, 8th graders trained, and what happened, some parents came in upset about something, and we trained them too. At this junction, I retired, but right now I'm at the Ideal Academy Public Charter School. We have a 2-year study where all my 5th graders are trained right now, and half my 6th graders. In between Fletcher Johnson and Ideal, I went to Baltimore, but I had the opportunity to come back to Washington for the charter school because in our charter, they had written a stress management program, a meditation. And I knew the lady, the founder. She is a long-time TM teacher. So she wanted me to come, and I wanted to come. So in 2001, I went to Ideal Academy Public Charter School. And let me tell you, folks, I have tried every program that you can name. I don't care what it is. You name it, I have tried it. Mediation did not work because some kids do not want to be mediated. You know that. That's the truth. We had every drug